All right, you go. You stop. Yeah, good to go.
Can you see me?
I can indeed.
All right, thanks, Carl. Hey, everybody. My name is Matt Graber, and I'm the president and founder of Unity Vertex. Probably going to give it just a second. We're live streaming right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So hopefully there's some folks out there seeing this. So again, my name is Matt Graber. A lot of you guys know me. If you don't, I'm the president and founder of Unity Vertex. We are an award-winning management consultancy, and we can help you with everything from innovative marketing solutions to fundraising solutions to innovative approaches to audience development, audience engagement, community engagement. We've done all those sort of things, even rebranding, anything that you need. And so I'm really excited to have you join us for this four-part series that we're calling New Year, New Season Ticket Holders. So today we'll be laying the groundwork, covering budgeting, revenue forecasting, and expense planning. Now, this is going to be some basic stuff. So if you're an old hat at this may be basic for you, but hopefully there'll be some tricks in here, reminders of things that could help you as you're getting ready. Because I know a lot of folks out there are getting going on their budgeting for next season. So today we'll be trying to set you up for success with that. In our next sessions, we'll dive into subscription renewals. We'll follow that with new subscriber acquisitions. And finally, we'll wrap up with audience and community engagement. And that will be every Thursday right here at noon for the next 3 Thursdays. It's going to be really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it. So again, welcome. My name is Matt Graber from Unity Vertex, and let's jump in and look at some ways to make some smart financial decisions. So let's get into what we're going to be covering today. We're calling this laying the groundwork, budgeting for success. Now, when it comes to budgeting, the goal is to justify your numbers with solid data. And now I know that sounds basic, but I'd be surprised at how many times we're forced into guesswork in our work by certain forces. Projections are always a mix of science and art, but we need to lean on the science as much as we can. And that makes our case even stronger. Now, there will always be unknown unknowns, whether it's a new title, audience changes in audience behavior, but reliable data will create projections that not only can guide your internal decision making, but also provide leadership with numbers they can confidently bring to the board. So today's agenda, we will dive into subscription renewal projections, followed by new acquisition projections. Then we'll examine single ticket projections. And finally, we'll explore marketing budget allocations and spending to ensure your spending aligns with your revenue goals. So let's get started. Okay, now let's take a look at revenue forecasting, a key part of budgeting. So the focus here is on using historical data to guide projections and applying conservative budgeting. Past performances offer valuable insights, but in today's unpredictable world, it's crucial to stay flexible and have realistic numbers. You may notice that I'm not covering group sales here today in today's discussion. For many organizations, that's become a much smaller piece of the puzzle. However, if it's relevant to you, I'd be happy to jump on a call or a consultation to discuss that. Now, we'll also be touching on them a bit in our final session when we talk about community and audience engagement, because they're great tools for both of those things. With that said, let's break down our first revenue source, subscription renewals. Subscription renewals are your most predictable part of your revenue stream and should serve as a fundamental foundation of your forecasting. Now, the key to accurate projections is understanding your historical data. We've already said that. Data is key, but we also need to segment that data and segment your subscribers effectively. Now, often I've seen people try to look at their entire renewal as one big chunk. Honestly, I've been guilty of it myself, but if you really want to be accurate, you want to carve it up into several different pieces. What I would recommend is analyzing your renewals by breaking them down by tenure or the number of years and the package size, number of shows that the audience member engaged in. The thing that has never varied for me is that the longer term a person is with you and the more shows they engage with, the more likely they are to renew. I mean, I've had subscription renewal rates for those folks 80 to 90%. And a lot of times when they drop off, it has very little to do with programming or anything of that nature. It's often a lifestyle change. You know, somebody just gets ill or something that can't attend anymore, or maybe they move out of town. Now, on the other hand, your new acquisitions renew at a lower rate, and I find that rate is inverse to these numbers. So if you have somebody that's with you, if you have a 6-play season, say you're a theater, and you have a 4-play package or a 3-play package, you're going to find those people engage less and less. The thing that renews at the worst rate for me is almost always the flexible package. These things can be great tools where it's like the, buy 4 tickets, use them for any show and any combination thing. They can be great tools, but they renew at a terrible rate. So just keep that in mind when you're using those tools. So by segmenting these groups, you can develop more accurate projections and identify opportunities to boost retention through targeted efforts. So now moving on, we're going to look at an example. Now, this is just a, back of the napkin thing I put together. On this slide, you see a breakdown of subscribers by their tenure and package type. For example, subscribers who have been with us more than 4 seasons or for 4 seasons or more in a 6-play package typically renew at 90% and so on. They go down as the years go here. Now, the key takeaway, again, I'm reinforcing the fact that the longer a subscriber is with you, the more likely they are to renew. These folks are your most loyal subscribers and should be very predictable. And then as they go down, the less reliable they are. I want to make sure, don't take this equation and go stick it to your data. This is just me pulling numbers out of the sky off of things that I've seen at other organizations that I've worked for. You need to look at your own data. And what I'd recommend you doing is looking at your post-COVID data, going back like 3 years. If you can go back further, great. Segmenting them out and comparing year to year who renewed and who didn't, and seeing what your renewal rates. Then you'll be able to get these percentages and apply them to your own data. And from there, you should be able to come up with a pretty good idea what people are going to renew at and how much money you're going to bring in. So if you notice any abnormalities, say 1 year people renew at a lot lower rate, it's usually an explanation. Whether it's a shift in audience behavior, we have this big little thing called COVID, changed everything for us, or it could be something that a programming miss, or a programming hit. Sometimes the big show, like it's the Broadway theaters had the Hamilton effect. When they have Hamilton roll through their Broadway venue, they have a huge uptick in their subscriptions, and then they have a horrible time retaining them the next year. But so you will have an explanation, but you should be able to find a stasis and be able to predict pretty well if you look at multiple years. So analyzing your own data this way, you can develop tailored retention strategies that ensure that your forecasts are grounded in reality. All right, moving forward. Now, let's shift our focus to new subscriber acquisitions. Now, new subscriber acquisitions are much closer to single ticket sales, but in a much smaller pool. Because honestly, if you're looking at new subscribers, you should be shopping in your own closet. If you're not, as a term that the folks at TRG like to use, if you're going out and trying to like buy ads in the paper or broadcast to try to acquire new subscribers, you're going to find that return is pretty bad. You want to go after the folks that have attended your shows in the past. And obviously, bringing in these new subscribers is more volatile, but it is something that is critical for your long-term growth. Now, to figure this out, you want to figure out the drivers of your subscription sales. So that could be like a big title. It's much like single ticket sales. It could be big new marketing initiatives or what have you. But you want to have those things planned out and have an idea of like how many sales you think you're going to get per. I am a huge fan in new subscriber acquisition at throwing a lot of different things at stuff. If you think about the fact that, your single ticket sales, we're often like, oh, our single ticket sales, there's the whole like you got a 7 or 10 impressions to get somebody to make a sale. But we don't think about that so much with our new acquisition sometimes. Sometimes we're just like, we're going to send a brochure out, send some emails, be done with it. No, you've got to be more consistent. And the big brochure that you do that has a lot of pages, I suggest you get rid of that thing and send 5 postcards or something of that nature, because more touch points is going to increase your chance of getting a higher return. And make sure you build that into your budget. So when you're forecasting new subscriptions, again, you want to base it on historical data. So you probably have a pretty good idea of how seasons have done, and with those similar titles, and other seasons have done better or worse, and factor that in. However, it's always smart to have a conservative approach. Actually, I just want to say this, that I recommend that we all try to make sure our projections are conservative. Sometimes I had somebody once tell me, like, I get to a number and then I discount it 15% and I hand it into my managing director. I'm not sure if I would do this, but it had an intelligence to it, because his argument was, well, he'll just increase it anyway, and I'll get to the goal that I wanted originally. So, maybe you don't want to be quite that duplicitous, but I do think that you want to be conservative, especially again in today's kind of volatile market. We have a lot of things going on in the world right now. It's a very unsure time in our world, especially in the arts world. So it's a good time for us to be conservative. However, it's always, I already, so it's smart to have a conservative approach. I said that already. So by combining data-driven insights, a realistic outlook, you'll create achievable goals and avoid overcommitting your budget. Now, so on single ticket projections, single prediction ticket projections are the most volatile, right? The most expensive too. It costs a lot more to acquire a new customer. When you have the renewals, that is, you're literally renewing a customer. Acquisition is new subscription acquisition. That is, you already have that customer. You're just upgrading that customer. This is really going out trying to grab a new one. And so there's some things you want to look at. I would suggest the biggest thing, and I hope most of you do this, but there are a lot of creative ways to do this, is look at show by show comparisons. So if you're lucky, I worked in opera for a while. Opera is a great place to work at show by show projections, because if we do a production of La Boheme, well, we might have done La Boheme 5 or 6 years ago. So I have an idea of how many single tickets it sells. Now, the pre-COVID data versus the post-COVID data becomes a little questionable, but I've seen the trends seem to be in the last year or two getting back to pre-COVID numbers as far as single ticket sales. I hope you guys are seeing the same. You could say, okay, last time we did La Boheme, we sold 3,000 tickets, and ergo, post-COVID, maybe I'll discount that by 15% and I'll get to 2,600 tickets. So show by show. So finding comparable productions. The other thing is, and you want to look at similar genre, scale, and timing and season. I think sometimes we forget that seasonality has an effect. I once worked for a company in Arizona, and timing and season really had an effect, because if you did a show in May or before October, most of your customers were snowbirds in Phoenix, Arizona. They weren't in town. And so we always saw a hit those two ends of the season. And the beef of what we did was right in the middle, when all those folks were back from Minnesota or wherever they went during the summer months when it was very hot. So make sure you're looking at that. Another thing I think you want to make sure you do is look at two factors that I think are most important, are your average yield and the total tickets sold. So sometimes I've seen people take the actual revenue, and sometimes with a finance person, this makes sense. Oh, we did the show, it sold $100,000 last year, and so I'll base it off of that. Well, if you're doing smart pricing strategies, you're increasing your prices year over year, that doesn't exactly match. What you want to look at is that you sold whatever 300 tickets to that show, and take that 300 times whatever your price is now, adjusted, and that will give you a much more accurate number. So again, total tickets sold, average yield or average ticket price, whatever you want to call it. That thing's called different things by different people. Whatever it means, the average amount that you got per ticket when you sold those shows. It's a crucial to avoid focusing on the total revenue of past productions. Again, I said that, and use always use data to make informed decisions. All right. So another example. This is kind of putting it all together. I have everything here in one place. And I have in this fake theater that doesn't exist, you have a production of Hamlet. It's in theater two. Say your theater's called the Donor X Theater, and the theater one is Donor Y Theater. You have two spaces. I put the capacity the same in both theaters, which doesn't make a lot of sense in this example, but you would factor that into here, and you would have the capacity, you have the total capacity, you have your percent of capacity, which is factoring off of the number of season and single tickets. The single ticket number is what we're looking at here. That single ticket number I have there for Hamlet, it's based off projections. You have two comps down below, Macbeth and Hamlet, 1999, last time we did Hamlet. And I can say Macbeth because I'm sitting in my apartment, not a theater. I don't recommend you say it at home if you're in your theater. And from that, we come up with an average yield. If you notice the average yield for those were like 79, but above I have it at 94. That's adjusting to more current pricing at this fictional theater. And that gives us that number. The season ticket number there, that is coming from being fed in from another spreadsheet with a lot of other things like the new acquisition numbers and renewal numbers. But I just wanted to kind of show you all this in one place. There's no one way to skin a cat. There's a lot of different ways to do this. Certainly, you're going to use your tool, whether it be Audience View or Testator, to feed this data. There's a lot of advanced tools these days for projections. This is just kind of the tool that I use, and I've found it useful. All right, so let's talk about expenses. Now that we've covered projections, shift our focus to setting up expenses, which is a crucial part of ensuring financial stability and tracking return on investment. When it comes to allocating your budget, it's important to understand the difference between the cost of subscription marketing, which is a lot cheaper than single ticket marketing. And obviously you have subscription renewal, which is the cheapest, acquisition, which is a little more expensive, and single ticket marketing. Subscription campaigns tend to have a higher return on investment, and renewing customers is far more cost effective than acquiring new ones. But we have to do that single ticket marketing, and that's as you know, that's the thing that eats up the most of your budget. So by understanding the differences between these, you're setting clear spending priorities, and you'll ensure your marketing dollars are working efficiently as possible. And next slide. Now, let's talk about subscription marketing. So again, we want to break up some things into some different places, but subscription marketing plays a crucial role to your renewals and acquisitions. The key thing here is to understand the difference between renewing existing subscribers and acquiring new ones. Renewing is the cheapest, acquiring is a little more expensive. And to allocate your expenses effectively, you should prioritize direct response channels. These are things like direct mail, email, telemarketing. And I want to say this, like some people are on the fence about telemarketing, whether it's effective or not. I have not found it ineffective at any organization I've worked at. And maybe I'm saying something apocryphal to some folks out there. Maybe I'll lose some credibility, but I'll stand by that. I think if you're working with the right telemarketing firm, telemarketing in arts is still extremely effective. But you need to be smart about it and effective about it and cost effective about it. We will go into strategies about telemarketing in our series about subscription renewals and subscription acquisition because they're key in both of those things. But I think you want to make sure that you are turning your leads over to your telemarketers at a strategic point and make sure that you have exhausted other ways of renewing the people before you get to that point. You want to also invest in strategic acquisition efforts, focusing on long-term audience development. So these would be things like, if you want to do a promotion or maybe an event to try to get people to subscribe. I worked at a theater where one of the guys working there, we never got this off the ground, but wanted to do a thing like they do at the baseball stadiums where they put the little things on all the seats and invite people in, and we have like a mixer, and then you could pick your seat and go home and have like a mixer and have some sort of performance. Get creative with these things, because sometimes I think and we'll go into this more in our future series, but sometimes I think we overlook the magic that we have in our places. Like you and I walk backstage, and maybe it isn't a big deal, but John Q. Public didn't grow up in the theater, didn't grow up in an orchestra pit or all those sort of things. Those places are magic to them. Invite people in. It's a great way to get new customers to increase their investment with you. And treat digital advertising and subscription as a reinforcement tool, not as a primary tool. Again, this is going back to the thing about using broadcast marketing, whether you're going to do broadcast marketing and try to get people to subscribe. It's never very effective, but subscription digital advertising can be great for reinforcement. So if you already have a mailer and all the things going on, then you can do some ads targeted to a certain group of people, maybe triggered off of retargeting or something of that nature. Those can be great. But the thing I find with using digital for subscription is that the subscriber typically needs a little more hand holding, and it's often difficult to do a subscription online. I find that most people get halfway through it and end up calling our box offices anyway. Now, obviously, we want to do what we can to lower that friction as we go forward, but I just find that the digital efforts aren't as effective. If you found them effective, would love to hear about it. So by investing strategically in renewal efforts first, you can free up more budget to support your new subscriber and acquisition goals. And so again, your renewal efforts, you also want to make sure that you're allocating enough money to touch those people multiple times, as many times as you can. But I would encourage you to realize that there was a study done that showed like a brochure that was bright and colorful went to a group of people versus one that was just a plain letter. And they found not much of a variance in the response to both. Now, I love the bright and colorful brochure. It's kind of the fun part of the job, putting that together. But I want to let you know that often the mailer that is a little bit less flashy can be just as effective and certainly a lot cheaper. So maybe you could send 3 less flashy ones instead of one big splash one. I know that's a hard darling for a lot of people to kill. Now, when it comes to single ticket marketing, the approach is quite different than subscription marketing. Single ticket buyers tend to be more transactional and price sensitive, so your marketing efforts need to be more targeted and flexible. A key industry standard to keep in mind, it's something I've heard from advertising a long time, is spend $1 to make 3 or spend $1 to make 5, somewhere in between, depending on which shows you have. A bigger, more flashy title may be less expensive to acquire a customer. A more challenging title may be more expensive to acquire that customer, but you want to make sure you're investing at least $1 to make 5, even with the big flashy titles. Otherwise, you're probably leaving money on the table. This ensures you have enough resources to drive attendance while maintaining profitability. So if you're expending more than 33% to make the show work, then you're probably just sinking good money after bad. Sorry. So again, you prioritize direct response marketing, such as emails and mailers. Telemarketing, no. Single ticket sales, telemarketing is not effective. That telemarketing is a much more high touch thing. It's not going to work for these folks. Digital advertising is pretty key in this. Actually, when I've had budget challenges where I didn't have a lot of budget to advertise a show, I've only done those two: direct mail and email and digital advertising, sometimes only on Meta, which today is kind of challenging with the news recently, but at least doing things like banner display ads and things of that nature. Traditional media on top of that, if you can afford it, but I would exhaust the first two first, and then add those if you can. And if you can, try to see if you can find places to find media sponsorships to make sure that if you aren't getting something back from each one of your advertisers, you need to ask the question why. You're a nonprofit organization. So you should be trying to get something matched dollar for dollar everywhere you can. And I know a lot of us are saying, well, the NPR station does that, but the other places don't. Well, why not? They probably do it for other nonprofits in your area. They should be doing it for you too. So tracking your return on investment is essential, though, with single ticket campaigns, as they can fluctuate greatly between titles. So you want to be able to track that so you have that data if something goes awry this year, so you have that data for next year. All right. Now I have a place here for questions. This is the first time we've done this. And so I don't know if anybody out there in the internet sphere has anything they want to chime in with or not. If not, that's fine, but I'll give it a second or two. Carl, can you hear me? Do you see anybody online commenting? Because I can't. All right.
There's nothing at the moment.
Okay. Thanks, Carl. All right. Well, that's a lesson learned there. I want to say thank you for anybody that's watching. We'll be rebroadcasting this because we're recording this. So we'll be rebroadcasting this later. So before we wrap up, let's take a look at what's coming up in our series. Next week, we're going to dive into subscription renewal techniques, focusing on strategies to maximize retention, the best timing for renewal campaigns, and how to leverage personalized communication to keep your subscribers engaged. We'll follow that up with subscriber acquisition, discussing proven tactics to attract new time buyers and convert them to long-term supporters. And finally, in our last session, I think this is going to be the most fun, we're going to cover community and audience engagement. We're going to look at ways to strengthen relationships through these things and build loyalty and sell tickets. It's a great way to do it. Each session is designed to provide actionable insights to help you grow your audience effectively. Carl, I heard a sound there. Did you have something you want to chime in?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, sir. All right. So, again, my name is Matt Graber from Unity Vertex. If you would like to sign up for a consultation, you can go to our website, unityvertex.com. We can help you with marketing, fundraising, management. If you need some interim help or more long-term strategy, we're here for you. Rebranding. We are even looking at doing some things with artificial intelligence. So we're trying all kinds of new things over here. Again, my name is Matt Graber, Unity Vertex. And if you'd like to take a deep diver into these strategies that can be applied to your organization's unique needs, I'd love to schedule a one-on-one consultation with you. And with that said, I hope everybody has a wonderful day. And whatever you do out there, do it with love. Thanks a lot.